Welcome back. You're watching
Zingers
726.
traded laps.
And, you know, we like to feature local people in and around the area, and we always want you to be a part of our show. And it's easy to get on the show. Actually, it's easier than what people think. All you need to do is call our offices and say, hey, I've got an idea for a show. I'd like to come on and talk about my church organization or
about me. Come on and talk about me,
if you'd like to come
kind
on
of thing.
and talk about Sandy.
No, not me, them, themselves.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So everybody has interesting stories.
You wouldn't mind if somebody came on and just talked about you the entire segment?
It'd have to be someone like my mother who knows me well. My Aunt Lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aunt Lane and I could chit chat. We could have. She's like the world's best pie maker. We could have my Aunt Lane come on and tell us and give us all the secrets to make the world's best pie. She really is the world's best pie maker. I'm not kidding you.
What kind of pies?
Chocolate is my favorite.
Chocolate.
Chocolate to die for, and then like coconut cream and all that sort of stuff. Oh. She's. But anyway, he's always saying, I know there are lots of people out there who have wonderfully interesting stories. I mean, I'm stuck talking to Daniel every week, for heaven's sakes.
Look at me. I'm not very interesting.
You know, it's a struggle. It's a struggle each week.
It is a struggle.
So, if you have, well, for heaven's sakes, if you are you have an interesting story. Everybody has something about themselves. In this area, Mr. Montana could come down and talk to us about living in Montana versus living in Arkansas. We can compare and contrast heat and summer. You can talk about your adventures or how you wound up in Mountain Home, Arkansas in the first place, or all kinds of stuff. I know we have a lot of veterans. There's a lot of topical things. I know sometimes we stay away from topical things so we don't get too radical and rambunctious, but I enjoy that sort of stuff.
One thing that we ran into this not too long ago. We had someone that took us up on the offer, and of course this show is only an hour long, and we do have other guests.
So you have about a 10-minute format.
Probably have a 10-minute format.
Yeah.
So if you think if you're not comfortable with 10 minutes and you think you need 2 hours to tell your epic story, this is not the place for that. That's the only time we really came into that problem. Most people are apprehensive about
I'm not sure I can
anything.
talk for 10 minutes, and everybody can. So,
and we take it easy on you. We make sure that we don't, unlike you, I try to push your buttons, but I won't push anyone else's buttons.
Please. Like I said, we've got Clay back with us. He's been on here twice before, so apparently we didn't scare Clay off. Here it comes. Okay, now Zinger. He can't make up his mind who he wants to sit with.
Now you've been here before talking about the memory walk. You want to talk about, or have you
not? Clay's
not
been
the
here.
memory walk.
Been here.
Not the memory walk.
Clay's been on twice because you have in-home care.
Right, home
and
instead
how did you
senior
get
care.
associated with that?
The in-home care.
No,
He owns
the
a
memory
company.
walk.
Yeah,
the memory walk. I got associated with them about 3 years ago. It's you know, the business we're in, we take care of a lot of people with Alzheimer's disease, and so you know, it's something that I'm passionate about, and like I say, I got involved with the Alzheimer's Association about 3 years ago. And the memory walk is their primary fundraising tool. The Alzheimer's Association is the largest volunteer organization in support in the fight against Alzheimer's disease. So great organization, just really good people involved with it, and I've just really enjoyed it. And this is the first year they're going to have a memory walk in Mountain Home.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah.
Really. And are you the coordinator of it, or part of it?
Or just the one willing to come on television. That's it. As Lori can attest, the one willing to come on television. Well, I think I overheard a snatch of conversation, Dixie. I heard you say something about age 30. Is that...
Most people believe that Alzheimer's can hit just the older people.
Yes.
And yes, it does, for the most part, hit the older people. But there are people that in their 30s who have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Now, is Alzheimer's,
or dementia.
Is it hereditary?
It can be,
It can be, but it can be caused by external factors, can it?
Exactly, yes.
Like exposure to chemicals or
chemicals
anybody?
or falls and bumps on the head. I mean,
But they really don't know what causes it, right?
Yeah, they don't know a lot about.
But is that part of the
Alzheimer's disease,
research,
but,
not just treatment, but trying to determine
Exactly.
because prevention, there's been some buzz in the news about preventing or delaying the, not necessarily once you've been diagnosed, slowing down the progression, possibly.
Yeah, they say that you know, things like remaining active is an important part in delaying or even preventing Alzheimer's disease, and that's, you know, being active physically, being active mentally. There's some studies that suggest that people who, you know, work crossword puzzles or do Sudoku or something.
Some kind of word game, even playing bridge or card games, something that causes you to,
And interaction with others, you know, they say that's another factor that people who live alone for a long period of time are at a higher risk than people who don't.
Now, is dementia part of that too? Does that fit in that same category, or is that the first stages of it, or how's that classified? Do you know? Because I know people have either or, but you don't know.
Okay, first
what's
of all,
the difference?
what exactly is dementia?
Dementia and Alzheimer's are closely related. I think actually Alzheimer's disease is a form of dementia, and in fact it can be difficult to tell the two apart. But one of the differentiators is that Alzheimer's disease will progress and get worse, and it's a disease there is no cure for. If you have Alzheimer's disease, at some point in time, it will get you. It's, you know, there's just no getting over Alzheimer's disease. So that's one of the things that differentiates dementia. But I have heard that the only way to tell for sure if it was Alzheimer's disease is through an autopsy. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
So there's a physical way that they can pinpoint it in an autopsy.
Yeah, there's a protein tangle or something that is in a certain part of receptors in the brain that once they find those tangles, then they know it was Alzheimer's disease. But
well, what are some of the first signs of Alzheimer's?
Well, you know, forgetfulness,
which of course increases as we get older anyway.
Right. There's a certain amount of forgetfulness that's normal with aging.
I've got a share of that going on right now with me.
And we all do.
Yeah.
You know, forget where you put the car keys. That's kind of normal stuff. But I'll use Barbara Broyles as an example. If you're familiar with Frank Broyles and his wife, first wife Barbara, had Alzheimer's disease. They knew it was something bigger than just normal forgetfulness. When she arrived home one evening and couldn't remember how to turn the car off, she had to call one of her children.
So it's not like you forget how to do things you should know how to do.
Right. You lose your way, you know, get lost on the way home or something like that. Something that's when you know it starts to really.
Yeah, I have a girlfriend whose mother gets lost inside the home. She lives with her daughter, and she said mother can wander down the hall and then she can't find her way back out to. But years and years and years ago, my best friend's grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She passed probably 20 years ago now. And the first sign she had, she mistook normal objects for something else. And then she didn't recognize, she recognized a person, like I visited her one day after she had been diagnosed, and she was speaking to me, calling me Sandy, and my kids were like, 2 and 4, little bitty tiny things. And she's talking to me and she's talking to the kids. And she turned and looked, and then she turned back and she called me Chloe Jane, which is my mother's name. And then she turned to her daughter and she said, well, Chloe Jane's come and brought the girls. So she, in the space of a heartbeat, she had gone from knowing who I was and who my 2 children were to thinking I was my mother, and that was my sister and I. And that was I just remember just having it was an awful sensation for me because I realized this woman who had been almost like a grandmother to me didn't know who I was.
Yeah, and that's the way Alzheimer's disease is, and what's part of what makes it such a terrible disease is that it takes your loved ones from you a little bit at the time.
And it can last for 20 years. I mean, it doesn't bring about death, does it?
Yes, Alzheimer's.
Oh, it does?
Yes, it's a terminal disease, and that's some of the unknowns between dementia.
See, I had no idea people died of Alzheimer's. I thought that was just a condition that occurred.
Now, I think most of the people who die of something other than Alzheimer's disease, but if they don't, then Alzheimer's will eventually
claim them. So will the money from the Memory Walk stay here locally? Will it go to the state or national organization? How's that work?
Yeah, there's a local part of Alzheimer's Association. Right now they're headquartered in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but they have an outreach office in Rogers or Springdale. I don't remember which one. But it's part of what they're trying to do with the Memory Walk in Mountain Home is they desperately need an outreach office here in Mountain Home. It's a long way for them to travel to come over here. And if you're not familiar with the Alzheimer's Association, they do a lot of wonderful things. They offer family support, caregiver training, and of course a lot of the money goes to research to try to help find a cure for Alzheimer's disease. And anyway, that's the purpose in bringing the Memory Walk to Mountain Home. And when I first got involved with the association 3 years ago, I told them at that time that they needed to have a walk in Mountain Home, that this community would respond well to that kind of thing, because Mountain Home is just, it's a wonderful community for volunteerism and that sort of thing. Just about any worthy cause, Mountain Home will get behind it, and this is what I kept trying to tell them. And so they finally have come over and going to have the Memory Walk on July the 31st at Cooper Park, and I really hope to be able to say I told you so to them, that we'll really get behind this.